all. It's another day, another day of the week, busy week. Anyway, on the pin router today, thought I'd show you guys a few little goodies I'm doing on the pin router real quick. I'm doing all this stuff in mahogany, and so I got a bunch of cool jigs. I'll show you guys one of my jigs that I use to make some of my really pricey furniture. Stuff takes me a long time to build. Stuff that I've listed on my website. These are all kind of custom projects that, again, I don't sell these things. They take too damn long to make. I can't make money on them in a production type environment. These are pieces that can only be made as like one-off piece of furniture. So they're kind of interesting. But anyway, so what you got here is you got this kind of infinity motif that I drew, I don't know, maybe like a year and a half ago, and I put it onto a cabinet. So I created this jig here. I'll show you guys real quick. This is the jig that makes that particular shape, right? So you can obviously see the shape here, right? So you have to build that. You build this shape up using a router, a little hand router. You create these circles, cut the circles in half, and put some blocks on that to create a shape, right? Then you put yourself a block of wood on there. And in this case, it's 3/4 inch. This is 3/4 inch mahogany. But anyway, put that on there. We double-side tape it on there, right? There's a company called ISP. It makes badass double-sided tape. So if you're ever in the market for double-sided tape, get their stuff. It's by far the best. There's also a place called Tape Depot that I used to buy a lot of my tapes. It's fantastic. You buy big bulk cases of that shit. But anyway, once you pin route that, you're left with something that looks kind of like that. You know, again, kind of cool. Shows off the motif. But anyway, you just whack the top off the miter saw, whack the bottom off the miter saw. You'll basically run this thing through the table saw and clip it along here and clip it along there, depending on the width that we need. Some of the pieces on this cabinet are going to be 2 3/8. The other ones are going to be 2 5/8. You know, so that's kind of the dimensions for all these individual pieces. But I thought it was kind of cool. You know, so I don't do a ton of pin router work these days. I've tried to up my CNC game a little bit, but the truth is that you just can't get away from. If you're going to be a custom furniture maker and you want to make a lot of different kinds of furniture, it's imperative that you have a pin router. Like it's a tool. I don't know why more people don't have pin routers. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with a router, but how nice would it be if you have a collection of 100 jigs like I've got at this point? Just pull that jig out, slap it on your pin router, just zip it all out. You know, instead of trying to use a hand router or whatever it is people do. So anyway, poor man's CNC. I'm always talking about the pin router. I love the pin router. It's like I call it the woodworker's secret weapon, the furniture maker's secret weapon. And anyway, I got a full video on my channel. But anyway, talk for the day is going to be about tariffs. People don't understand tariffs. Like I hear so many people today talking about what's going to happen with tariffs, and it's going to raise prices, and who pays the tariff? Is it the consumer? You know, is it the country of origin that produces the product? You know, is it the company? Is it somebody pays this tariff, and who is it? You know, so and as someone who actually imports stuff, I thought that I would talk about it, right? I'm an actual importer. I have all of my brass hardware made in India, so I'm constantly importing stuff from there, and I can tell you guys what's happened to my import duties and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to talk a little bit about the supply chain as it pertains to tariffs, because I think it's kind of interesting. You know, so if you guys are in the discussion, hit the like button. My name's Eric Wilkin. I own the Resplendent Crow here in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small furniture boutique company. We do about 500 pieces a year. We are known for our high gloss lacquer coating. We paint a lot of furniture as well as make stain grade furniture. We've got about 7 or 8 employees right now, and it's a middle class living, 7-figure business, and it's I probably get to keep 100, 200,000 a year for myself, and that's just, that's kind of what it is. That's a good year. Some years where you get to keep 50 grand. So on this channel, I talk about the business of woodworking. I talk about the business of paint, and I answer people's questions about what it is to really run a small business in America as a furniture maker, right? Furniture maker, paint company, because these are things people like to do. I think there's a lot of people that want to be in business for themselves, and there's a lot of people that would like to get away from their W-2 job and own their own business, in some shape or fashion. And that's what I talk about, So anyway, we're going to talk about tariffs today. I've told you about my company. Looks like we've got Reaper in here. Reaper, hello, good to see you. Anyway, guys, comment and add your feedback. Let me know what it is you do. I'm always curious what people do, where they live, things like that. It's kind of interesting to see who these conversations go out to, who sees this kind of stuff. And, oops, sorry, guys. And anyway, so tariffs, all right? So the truth is that when people talk about tariffs, right, we look at kind of what's going on in the economy right now. Like, if you guys have noticed, prices haven't gone up on nothing. Because most of it's smoke and mirrors, right? There's not a lot of people passing the cost of anything directly onto their consumers, because the truth is that we can't do it. And this is the thing that I don't hear enough people saying. There's all this fear mongering that, if you if you put, say a 50% tariff on somebody, well, then me as the company, I'm just going to pass that 50% directly onto my consumer. And the honest to God truth is that you can't. And I don't hear enough people talking about this, and there aren't enough small business owners talking about what really happens with these tariffs. You hear people talking about, they'll talk to like big, house manufacturers like was it Hutton, or I forget the names of all of them. But anyway, they talk about how the cost of lumber going up is going to add 20% to the price of a home. And the truth is these people are full of shit. That's not how it works, okay? So here's exactly how this conversation works, because I've had this conversation, okay? So, of course, if your products are made in America, you don't have to worry about that, right? Which is the other thing that I don't hear enough people talking about. There's a lot of companies that don't care about tariffs at all, and you do not hear anybody talking to those companies. So I'm one of those companies, okay? So because I make most of my stuff in America, tariffs don't really affect me at all. My customers, doesn't really affect them. These are all rich people, and they're not too worried about it either. They're still buying. I've had busiest month last month that I've had in probably 2 years. So people are still buying. The tariffs aren't affecting anybody. So here's how it works. So when I buy a piece of brass hardware, right? So I design a piece of brass hardware with my manufacturer in India, and we come up with a design, and he gets back to me, tells me a price. Okay, so say that price is $5, right? So generally I have to buy 100 of everything in order to be able to have the manufacturer produce it. And this is the thing that people aren't talking about, right? I have to have 100 of those made, right? Which doesn't sound like a lot because I'm a small business, right? But for me, it's a massive amount of hardware. If you're Nike, you have to have 1 million shoes made, right? And this is the conversation that businesses have to have with the people that make their products that nobody is talking about right now. So while my manufacturer needs a 100-unit order to just turn the lights on to produce a product at his warehouse, a company like Nike the company that makes their shoes needs 1 million shoes to make in order to open their factory. Because what's happened is a lot of these companies have scaled up so massively that in order to keep their factories going, they have to have an amount of orders to open the door, right? To turn the lights on. The people that manufacture shoes for Nike aren't even turning the lights on for 10,000 orders, right? They're not going to do it because they're losing money, because in order to turn a factory on, you have to turn the factory on. You can't just turn a little tiny section of it, because it takes the entire factory to make a product, right? So my hardware manufacturer, right, if I said, well, hardware manufacturer, I only want 5 pieces of hardware, my hardware manufacturer is going to tell me to go fuck myself, because he can't afford to bring his people in and then turn the lights on in his factory, make castings, and then pour brass, right? He can't afford to do that. It's too expensive. You're losing money every time you do that. So this is the thing that people aren't talking about, and it drives me crazy. So basically what's going to happen is if I say to my manufacturer, hey, dude, you're charging me $5, I got to order 100 of those things. That means I got to pay $500 for these pieces of hardware. I was paying 2.4% as an import duty last month. Okay, this month I got to pay 26% as an import duty, right? I can say to my manufacturer, I can say, look, dude, I'll split this with you, but I'm not taking all. I'll just stop selling your hardware. I've got another vendor I can go talk to, and in India there's tons of them, right? But we want to keep that relationship going. We want to be able to produce products and bring products into America that are at a reasonable price that doesn't shock our customer, right? So that cost will be split between the manufacturer and the importer, whoever that might be, right? But then there's another element, right? So a lot of times when you buy stuff from China, you're bringing it in to a wholesaler, right? So just because a product comes into America doesn't mean it's going directly to retail. There's another middleman. That middleman is the wholesaler. So the wholesaler buys it from, say, China, India, wherever. They are the manufacturer, right? They bring it to the wholesaler. The wholesaler will then sell it to retailers all around America, right? But if they get enough calls from their customers saying, look, I'm not going to pay your price if you try and pass that cost on to me, which everyone that makes products, we know what the market will bear, which is what our customers will pay. Truth is that we're not going to be able to pass that cost on. So when we say to our manufacturer, hey, dude, I can't order 100 of these at $5. I can order 100 of them at $4.25. That conversation will then be had, right? Or you go to your manufacturer and say, hey, manufacturer, like, look, you're going to take 20% of this, I'm going to eat, 60%, and we're going to have somebody else, we're going to pass 30% on to the customer. So this is how this conversation really works. And right now, you got a lot of people saying, well, it's just all fear mongering, it's just the price of everything's going to go through the roof. Only the businesses are going to win and everyone else is going to get hosed. And that's not how it goes, but that's what everybody wants you to believe. So be very leery when someone says to you that tariffs are a tax on consumers, right? It's not a tax on consumers, and it's a little bit tricky why tariffs are used. There's all kinds of reasons to use tariffs. But the point is that the price that gets passed on to the consumer is a negotiation between a lot of people that the consumer never has to deal with, and our job as people that make stuff is to give a fair price to our customer based on what our customer can afford. Now, if we want to jump market, we want to go to a higher tier, we can. If we want to go to a lower tier, we can. But it's very difficult to just raise your prices on whoever your target demographic is. If there's a shock, they're basically gonna be hesitant to purchase, which is what you don't want. You want your customer not to necessarily see that you increase your prices. You don't want them to see that kind of stuff. That's why you negotiate with the manufacturer, the distributor, the wholesaler. Everyone along the supply chain is gonna eat a little bit of that cost so that the consumer will then end up eating, they may end up in 10%, 20%. They may end up eating nothing. Like, it just kind of depends on what the product is, But what I was saying earlier in this discussion is that you have to understand that with these large corporations, and they're the ones that are feeding everyone this shit, with these large corporations, they have to produce so many parts, the quantity of pieces that they have to produce every day is so high that if their volume got turned off, like say their volume got cut in half due to tariffs, right? It would crush the people that are making the products. So the company is going to eat that, right? They absolutely eat a chunk of it. And like I was saying earlier, they might not eat it all, but they're going to eat a portion of it. And everyone within the supply chain to make their product is going to eat a little bit of that. And again, maybe 10% gets passed on to the customer, right? Or the consumer, So it's not this deal where if a Chinese tariff is 100%, the customer is going to end up paying 100% on top of their product. It's complete horseshit. And you have a lot of these news companies like the New York Times, the Daily, all these podcasts that are basically they're telling stories of people that are having their stuff made in China, and when a tariff comes in, that it basically just eats up all their margin, right? And the truth is that most businesses need to make about 60 to 65% on all their shit that comes in from foreign countries in order to operate their businesses, right? And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but the solution to all this is just to make your product here. But what these people do, and corporate America is the worst for this, and politicians are so quick to what's the word I'm looking, not sell out America, but they're so quick to basically say that America can't do it, right? Like, we can't manufacture this, we can't make this part, we can't make this material. They're so quick to say that America can't do something, and what they're really saying is that we stopped doing it for so long that we no longer do it in America. Doesn't mean we can't do it again. We absolutely can. But they want you to believe that we don't do that here in America. It's other countries are too good at these things, and therefore we shouldn't even try, which gives these people power, these corporations, it gives them power. And the truth is that here in America, we can make anything. Like I said, I have a small furniture company here today. If you told me that, Eric, you know what, the war is coming, just like in World War II, and they did with like Hawker Beechcraft and Cessna, Stanley, Coleman Stove, all these companies that were making all kinds of products immediately flipped on a dime and started making shit for the military. And not camping stuff for the military. I'm talking planes, tanks, armored personnel carriers. I mean, it was really wild what America was able to do, basically like that. I mean, very quickly. So when they tell you that America can't do shit here anymore, like, it's complete garbage. Like I said, if someone said to me, Eric, we need you to make tooling out of aluminum so that we can stamp out engine parts, guess what? I have the capacity to do that, right? Now, do I deal with aluminum here? No, I don't. But I know absolutely how to use CNCs. I know all the people that have CNCs. We do all the engineering here for all that stuff. We could absolutely crank that out in fairly short order, So when they tell you that America can't do things, or doesn't do that stuff anymore, they are basically trying to push you down. They're trying to say, why would you want to try and do that? China does it so much better than you. There's no reason to even try and make that thing here because China already does it. Oh yeah, and big corporation already sells it at super cheap prices, so why would you even want to try and sell the same product or a similar product? It's this constant beating you down. They're beating your expectations down, and all they want you to do is go to school, go get some kind of a degree, and go work for one of these corporations. And it's a crappy deal, guys. And I'm always talking about, how the college system has just screwed over so many people. But the tariff situation it's not what people think it is. It really isn't, And again, if tariffs were to be put at 100% on all kinds of countries, America would be fine. Like, there are enough people here that can make stuff and that can teach people to make stuff that we can absolutely produce all this stuff. I don't know of a single product that we can't make here in America, right? And people talk about they'll talk about like cobalt, or they'll talk about rare earths. You hear these news agencies talk about all these materials. Well, the truth is that there's rare earths here in America. It's not like we don't have this stuff, right? Sometimes they'll say lithium, right? Lithium has one of the largest, or America has some of the largest lithium deposits in the world, right? But the problem is, and what they have told everyone for the last 30 years, is that we can't make this stuff. When the real problem is that we have so much regulation, we can't refine it. Like, we can't refine the materials, we can't process the materials because of what we've done with the education system. We've told every person who went to college that the earth is everything, and we don't want to do any of that work here. We're going to send it all over to other countries, and we're going to have safe air, safe drinking water, and everything's, all the work environment's going to be perfectly safe. We're not going to have any harsh words. We're going to have any of that stuff here, which has led us to where we don't do anything here. All we do is virtue signal and talk shit on people on the internet. Like, that's all we're good for these days. But truth is there's a lot of people in America that make a ton of stuff, and we could make more, if we didn't have to compete with all these other countries, right? The thing about shoes is that we talk about the shoe industry. Nike is the company that everyone denigrates, and I get it, but there are companies here in America that make tennis shoes. New Balance makes several of their shoes here in America, and they make shoes overseas, I think in Indonesia. But there's companies like Speedland out in Portland, Oregon. They make shoes in America. There's, I'm trying to think, is it Topo? I think Topo is another company. There are companies that make shoes in America. And yeah, they're $135 a pair, which I don't know if that's expensive. But truth is that they are kind of pricey, but they do it here. So the truth is that it's not that we don't make stuff here, it's that they want you to believe that we cannot make it here. There's no reason for you to try because some other country already does it, some massive corporation's already doing it. There's no way you can compete. When the truth is you can. You can. Tariffs on this country, and they always talk about we're talking about the price for a second, okay? Tariffs on this country would not be a bad thing. It just wouldn't be. And I know there's a lot of people that probably disagree with me on that because everyone always says, well, the price. Again, your elite class of people have taught you that if the price goes up on anything, that somehow it's a loss for you. And I'm here to tell you it's not. It's not a loss for you. If you have to pay more for tennis shoes and you got to pay more for, I don't know, drinking mugs or whatever, like, so what? You just have less drinking mugs, right? You buy less tennis shoes. Like, this is not a big deal, but they've convinced you that it is a big deal, right? And so we need to make sure that all these large corporations have all the tax breaks, they have all the access to all these markets. Meanwhile, you don't, right? If you want to start a business, you're not going to have access to all this stuff, and because, again, the quantity discussion is what's going to keep you from doing this stuff, right? There was a company in, oh gosh, I can't think of the state that they're in, but they're basically called Atreyu Running. And I watched this video on them, and the guy seems like a good guy, but he's talking about how tariffs are going to destroy his shoe company because he can't afford the container tariff on all the, which basically means he's bringing in hundreds of pairs of shoes, and he can't afford to pay a massive tariff because they're all made in China. And the truth is he could make those shoes here in America. There's no doubt about it. If New Balance can make shoes in America, so can some guy who's getting all his shoes made in China, right? And this is the thing. Like, there's no reason we can't do this. Like, I have a furniture company here in America, which, to be completely honest, furniture is an industry that has survived for hundreds of years at this point, which maybe is why it's still here. But the truth is that I compete with Crate and Barrel. I compete with Restoration Hardware. I compete with Williams Sonoma, Bassett Furniture. I mean, you name it, Hickory Chair, Theodore Alexander, all these companies, Century, all these legacy companies, Kindle. I compete with all these companies. Most of the furniture in America is made overseas. Yet somehow we all thrive here in America making furniture. And why is that, right? So if a tariff were to come into play, it's not going to affect me one bit, because all my customers are here in America. They buy American products and they buy American furniture, right? They have custom things that they want, and that's probably going to be the way the economy is going to end up going. Is that we're going to want more people here in America to make stuff, because more people are going to want customized things. And so not only is it a better way to make a living, but it's very rewarding, right, to make stuff. And granted, one-off stuff is kind of difficult sometimes, but you do it enough, you do it long enough, it's freaking awesome. Making money as a furniture maker in America is awesome. It's the only thing I ever want to do. And again, if they were to raise tariffs, if politicians were to come in and say, yeah, we're going to bring manufacturing jobs back to America, and we're going to raise tariffs on Europe and China and Vietnam and all these places, most big businesses are fucked. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. They are 100% screwed. And the way you know this is just watch the stock market. Like, if you watch the largest companies in the furniture space, Restoration Hardware and Williams Sonoma, watch those two companies. When Trump announced those 145% tariff on China, their stocks got cut in half. I mean, these are stocks that were $300 a share. They got cut down to $150 in 2 days. I mean, that's insane. And it's just because of tariffs. And that was because of a 26% tariff on Vietnam, which is where most of these people are making their furniture, right? So that's how much these companies, not only their reputation, but the value that people see in these companies is not the furniture. It's the cheap labor in other countries. That's all the value. So you cut that off, a lot of these companies cease to exist. Plain and simple, which is kind of what needs to happen in America today, because more people need to start businesses. And I'm a broken record on this. It's part of why I do these videos. I do these streams. This channel is dedicated to making furniture and running furniture company as a normie, right? Someone that never even graduated high school. We need more people starting businesses. We need more people that want to make stuff in their garage, that want to get away from working for somebody else and be able to make their own products, right? And a lot of people say, well, I can't, how can I possibly do that? I live in an apartment, And the truth is that that's your first mistake, right? Like, you bought into the lie that living in an apartment, in a 5-minute city or a 15-minute city or whatever they call these things is going to be amazing, right? Everyone says, you don't want to live in the suburbs, you want to live in the city where the action is. Like, you were fooled. You were 100% fooled. Go to school, get a degree, go work for some company in the city. Like, no. So, anyway, it's people are, a lot of people don't realize that they're being lied to about all these tariffs. And like I said earlier, the tariffs haven't raised the prices on anything. And again, if you're in the feed right now, tell me what tariffs have raised prices on, because it's nothing. And I did a conversation about tariffs, I don't know 2 months ago, telling you guys that tariffs weren't going to drive up the price of nothing. Not a thing. They're not going to drive up the price of anything. It's all fear-mongering, because again, there's not many businesses. You have to have a massive brand, right? You have to have have a product that is so desirable that people will go get out a loan to buy it, right? You got to have something like a home, or I wouldn't even say a car's not even that desirable. A lot of people pay cash for cars, but you got to have something that people will, sell their kidneys for to buy in order to raise your prices enough to, to deal with the whole tariff situation. Truth is that most businesses can't raise their prices. They just can't. People don't have any money, So if the government puts a 100% tariff on something, and the customer, the person that's selling the product says, well, I guess I got to raise my price 100%. Like, it's not going to happen. People don't have the money. Paul, good to see you, Paul. I remember you. Talking tariffs again. I'm back on this tariff conversation, talking about how tariffs haven't affected the price of nothing, not a thing. And everyone said that tariffs are going to, the consumer is going to pay all this money, and I'm trying to explain to people, like, customers don't have the money, and if they did, that'd be one thing, but they just don't. And as a business owner who imports things, like, just because you have to pay yesterday you were paying $10 for a product, and then tomorrow you're paying $15 for that product. You just can't pass that price on to your consumer if they don't have the money, and it's the same thing that in any industry. If you're a super high-end product, you have a little more flexibility in what you can pass on to your customer. But even then, your customer's gonna be like, "What are you doing? Why are you raising prices on this kind of stuff?" And of course, the simplest answer is just make your stuff in America. And I was talking about how basically most of the people that are making their stuff overseas, they have to order things in such massive quantities. If they had to cut that quantity in half, right, their factory would close down. So again, good luck raising your price 50%, 100%, whenever everyone tells you that corporations and businesses are going to have to raise their prices. If they did that, their customers would all stop buying their stuff. And then the access that they have to their factories in all these foreign countries would get cut off. And that's really how it works. And I use the example of buying hardware, right? Like I have my hardware made in India. I've got a couple of different manufacturers over there. And again, if I suddenly had to pay 100% duty on my product, and my manufacturer in India is used to getting whatever $30,000 of business from me every year. If I suddenly say, you know what, I can't pay this tariff, or I can't pass the cost of this tariff on to my customers, I can't order any more product, or I'm going to have to significantly reduce the amount of ordering I'm going to bring in. There's going to be a negotiation, right? So he's going to give a little, I'm going to give a little, and then the customer will give a little as well. But there's several people in the supply chain. They're going to end up, because the guy that's making my product, he's going to then go to the people that he gets his brass from. He's going to say, hey man, if you want me to keep buying my whatever 100,000 rupees a year that I'm paying for brass, you gotta help me out here, because we got this situation in America. If we all want to keep working, we got to figure this out. And that's how it really works. And not enough people are talking about that. Everyone's just fear-mongering. And it's all, I think it's all just a big ploy to keep people sad and depressed. And, you see all the doomers on YouTube. It's a reason to keep you pissed off, working for somebody you hate, doing something you don't really want to do all that much. And you're just surviving, and that's what I think is going on. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. And every day I get on Amazon, I literally buy stuff all day long. Like I'm constantly buying things, and the prices on Amazon are down. Like all the stuff that I buy, super glues and adjustable feet and whatever, activators and rubber gloves, nitrile gloves, stuff like that. Like all that shit, the prices are down. Even like Festool products, like Festool 6-inch sanding pads and dominoes and all the shit that, those loose tendons, all the stuff that we buy here to make furniture off of Amazon. The prices are all exactly where they were prior to the tariff discussion, if not lower. So anyway, it's all kind of crap. And again, I don't know if anybody else is seeing any of this. Have prices gone up on anything? I mean, I think everyone agrees that even like the price of gas has gone down. The cost of energy is going down. It's that's iffy, but most prices on things are actually coming down, and it could be to a lack of demand. I mean, 100%. Like, I'm not 100% sure. But it doesn't seem to me like demand is really the issue. I don't know what the issue is, but things are coming down. Again, and I've had last month was the busiest month I've had in 2 years. So my customers are spending pretty well. The month before that was pretty slow, I gotta admit. But this month, shaping up pretty good. Sold a $10,000 credenza yesterday. Or I take it back. Today, they paid the invoice today. Sold it yesterday. But people are spending bucks, like they're buying pieces, Yeah, I don't know, guys. Like it's not as bad as people make it out to be, and it's a good time to be in business. People are buying. The prices of the stuff that we're selling is up, if anything. Like our prices are as good as they've ever been. The demand is as good as it's ever been. And this idea that tariffs are going to kill demand and they're going to drive prices through the roof and blah blah blah. It's all horseshit, guys. Like I don't know. I just don't see it. But anyway, got more goodies coming down the pipeline. I'm starting on these mahogany credenzas and sideboards. So I'll show you guys some of that. Maybe tomorrow, Friday, I'll do what's in the shop. I got lots of great stain furniture to show you guys. I had to emergency build a 6-drawer foam bamboo dresser today, so I got that framed up right behind me here. And got my veneer press built. I built that over the weekend and finished it up. Finally got it to where it works well. And but I do need a bigger vacuum. My vacuum press is a little bit light. I think I need to get more CFMs to get it to suck down really tight. So need to get that done, but a lot of veneer work coming up. So anyway, I hope everyone has a great day, and we'll do this again tomorrow.